Hello and welcome to the Private Schools SBHS Alumni College panel. I'm Nina Track, 2017 SBHS grad and current junior at Penn State University. And these SBHS alumni have volunteered their time to give back to the SB community in hopes to help you get clarification and inspiration during your college decision and selection process. The questions you will hear have been gathered over the years through various college panels at the high school. If there's any question that you have left unanswered at the end of this panel, please see the link at the bottom of our SBHS Alumni College panel discussions page. Let's get started by asking each of our panelists to please introduce themselves. Becky, you want to start?
Hi, I'm Becky. I'm a junior right now, going to be a rising senior. I go to Carnegie Mellon University in Pittsburgh, and I study cognitive science with an additional major in HCI, which is human-computer interaction.
Hi guys, I'm Greg. I'm a sophomore at the University of Pennsylvania. I'm studying economics with minors in data science and math, and I'm graduating in 2022.
Hi, I'm Izzy. I go to Columbia. Right now I'm a current sophomore and I'm majoring in biomedical engineering and minoring in applied math.
Hey, I'm Dan. I'm a current junior, rising senior at Princeton University. I'm studying sociology with minors in stat and computer science. I'm a class 2017 South Brunswick High School. So yeah.
Awesome. So putting yourself back a couple years, back in the shoes of making your college decision, what was the main thing you were looking for when deciding on a college, and what helped you to make that final decision?
Okay, so I guess I'll go. I think my main three things that I was looking at when I was deciding for college was the location, the academics, and then the size, kind of in that order. So I knew that I wanted to be in the city. So the schools I applied to were mainly city schools that were a few hours from home. And then I wanted to prioritize academics as well, being in an environment that I knew would be rigorous enough for me. And then the last thing was size. So a school that wasn't too big, but wasn't too small. So like medium sized.
I think I would echo a lot of those same thoughts. I think the other thing that I was really looking forward to is making sure that I went to school that had a lot of flexibility. So I always knew in high school that I was interested in a lot of different things. And so I wanted to make sure I went to school that was a little more flexible in terms of choosing programs, choosing activities and things like that. So I think most schools are quite flexible, but I think there are schools that lock you in a little bit more. So you have to choose a little bit earlier. But I know at Princeton, you have a lot of leeway to take a lot of different classes. So that definitely played a pretty big role in my decision.
The other thing that I would add is I always kept in mind cost and how much money I'd be paying, just because when you're looking at every college, obviously they're going to all cost a different amount. So it's just something to keep in the back of your mind to make sure that it's something realistic for you and your family.
Yeah, and just to add to what Becky said about location, I also knew that I wanted to be in the city, but it was also really important to me to have that like closed off, like gated campus and like kind of a community to be in. So that's why I ended up going with Columbia, because choosing between other city schools, there were some that are just like a bunch of random buildings, and that's not really what I wanted.
Yeah, definitely. There are so many factors that go into choosing a college, and I think you guys bring up a lot of great points. And when students are looking at their college decision process, not only are they thinking about what school they want to end up at, but also what they want to study. So how did each of you decide what it was that you wanted to study?
Yeah, I can go first on this one. And I think this goes back to my previous answer about, or for the previous question. But I actually went in originally as a math major, having done a lot of math, I guess, in high school. But over the summer, even before I got there, I switched to what we call operations research and financial engineering, which is kind of like applied math. But as I was kind of taking classes, as I mentioned, I realized that it wasn't an exact fit for me. And I had always been really interested in kind of social equity and things like that, and really passionate about that. And I discovered sociology. So I think there's like a statistic that floats around. I don't know what the exact number is, but a pretty big percentage of students end up changing their major since when they first declared. So I think it's totally normal. I would say most of my friends picked something else. So I guess for me, in deciding, it was just really trying to look for what I was interested in. I think I went in at least with a lot of expectations of what I was supposed to major in or what was the right thing to major. But I had never heard of anyone who majored in sociology until I got there. But it's been a blast since.
For me, I'm in the School of Engineering, so it was always kind of having to pick in between these different types of engineering. And I came in as chemical engineering because I liked chemistry in high school. But then I joined a lab in my first year, and it was a biomedical engineering lab. And I realized that I liked it so much compared to chem lab that I wanted to make the switch. So I really only realized what I wanted to do once I actually started doing work in it.
So I kind of decided to study economics as something that I'm interested in. Obviously, I'm interested in economics, but it's also something I desire to do as part of my career, and it trains me with some valuable skills that I can transition to post-graduation. So it was kind of like a meeting of those two mediums that led me to my decision.
I would say my experience is kind of like the opposite of Dan's a little bit. Well, before college, when I was applying, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to study. So I applied for a bunch of different things at different places. But I ended up picking cognitive science because it was just like a combination of things I was interested in, like psychology and linguistics and computer science. And then I kind of knew before even going that I wanted to also add the HCI double major. And then I just ended up sticking with that, I guess. Taking classes, it kind of reinforced my liking to that area.
It's pretty cool that it seems like at different points of each of your college careers, you learn different interests and you can always add them in, whether it's something that you came in already knowing or something that you kind of figure out along the way. It's nice to know that you can explore those different interests in a bunch of different ways. Going back to your, I guess, more broad school experience, how did you know that your specific school was the one for you? At what moment did you feel that?
So when I was doing my visits and stuff, I actually visited Columbia on the day that they were having their graduation so I probably should have not done that and gone during graduation, but being in that atmosphere that was just so fun and their community coming together, it was just really great to see. And on that day, I knew that I wanted to go there and be a part of it.
I think oh, sorry.
You can go.
Okay.
You can go.
I think for me, first, going back to other qualities I was looking for in college, CMU ticked off all of those boxes. And then it was the fact that there was a wide breadth of classes that I could take. Again, like what Dan was saying, the flexibility, because there's a design school, an CS school, architecture school. So I know that I would be able to take all of the classes that I would want to take in the different areas. But I would say that for a lot of students, sometimes they go to college and they still might not be sure that the college is the one for them. And I think that's okay, because everyone's experience is different and you might not know until you're actually there.
Yeah, so going off of what Becky said, I can actually provide some unique experience where I'm a transfer student to the University of Pennsylvania. I changed my schools after freshman year, and I knew UPenn was the right fit for me due to the opportunity that it provided and the chance to study my true interest. I went to a small liberal arts school my freshman year, and the opportunity just wasn't the same. The academic rigor wasn't the same. So I'm just probably a personal testament to choosing a school that has the academic opportunities that you need in order to succeed and prepare yourself for the future.
Yeah, and I think I'd echo just Greg and Becky in that I think you should definitely try to find the school that's the best for you, but I also think college is kind of what you make of it. And so I would say like Princeton is the experience that has been for me because kind of I've been active in looking for research opportunities and internships and things like that. So I can't say for sure, I guess like we'll never know the alternate universe where I went somewhere else. But I do think that every school, or at least most schools that you're considering, will have the resources to kind of make college what you want. And I think like Greg's an awesome example of like how you can even change that if you need to. So yeah.
Dan, that's a perfect segue into our next question about what is the most exciting opportunity that you've been able to take advantage of so far in your college experience?
I think a fun one that unfortunately wasn't able to totally get off the ground because of the current situation, but I started getting funding for a club that I started called the Fine Foods and Fermentation Club. And so I'm really interested in cooking and fermenting and just anything related to food. And so we were starting to get, programs off the ground. And I think the really cool thing for us, or at least for me to see, along with the people that I was starting the club with, was just all the support that we got from friends and from, peers, but also from the school. And I think most schools, at least that I know of, are really supportive of kind of extracurriculars. And obviously there's different pathways to getting that approved, but that was a lot of fun. I guess on a more like professional side, I think for me, Princeton has a really unique set of internship opportunities that Princeton kind of sets aside for Princeton students. And so my first 2 summers, I found internships through Princeton and got funded through Princeton. And I think it was really cool for me to kind of have the Princeton influence outside of campus. And so that was a really fun experience.
For me, in terms of like fun opportunities, I would say Columbia is really great with like connecting you to things in the city. So things like discounted museum passes, discounted Broadway shows, that's all like really awesome things that they do to like help you take advantage of the environment that you're in. And then kind of like Dan was saying, they also have like really good professional connections, and it's really awesome like to go to a school that has the footing to like put you in that position and like help you get internships for the summer. And I was really excited for mine this summer until it got canceled.
I would say 2 things for academic, like more academic oriented. An exciting opportunity is being able to do a lot of research on campus, and especially like independent research or independent study. And so my research team was able to get published this year, which was really exciting. And then for kind of more, again, like fun things, CMU does this thing where we have carnival every spring, and it's basically a week where orgs build like 1 to 2 story booths, which are just like tiny houses. And we like pick the theme, we design and model the entire structure, and then we build it all in the course of a week. So that's something that I didn't really know about before coming to CMU or college, but it's been a really fun opportunity. And I never thought that I'd be like using power tools or knowing how to build like 1 to 2 story structures, but it's been really fun.
Yeah, so I will I'll echo what Becky said about research. Penn is funding me to do research this summer, which is an awesome opportunity. And I will just say that Penn has an amazing pre-professional club scene. I'm part of the Wharton Analytics Fellows, and they have tons of consulting, business, investment clubs that allow you to like apply what you learn in the classroom to real life situations and gain like necessary work experience for internships and later jobs.
I think each of you touched upon this a little bit, but if you wanted to expand on any of them, what are some of the different extracurricular activities you've been involved with? And if you've already talked about them a bit, maybe you can share how they've impacted your college experience.
So I talked a little bit about booth and carnival at CMU, and the reason I was able to get involved in booth in the first place was through Greek life, and I'm sure a lot of college or rising seniors or current seniors already know about Greek life, so I won't talk about it too much, but I think it allowed me to gain a better sense of community in college and also a sense of empowerment and support from other students, which I think has been really valuable.
Yeah, I think I can share one that I haven't touched on yet, but Like I said, I was really interested in social equity, especially education related. And so one thing I was looking for was a way to get involved on that front. And so one thing that Princeton, but exists on a lot of other campuses is something called Matriculate, which provides college counseling for low income, high achieving students across the country. And so I ended up getting a leadership position there. And that's kind of been the bulk of what I've been doing outside of class for the last 2 years. So I think I just mentioned that because number one, it's on a lot of campuses, so it's not Princeton specific. And secondly, I think there's so many avenues, I think, to do extracurriculars that go off campus and have social impact, because I think that is very much front of mind right now. And so that's been a lot of fun and getting involved in that scene. And I think that's definitely shaped what I'm thinking about after college as well.
So I can touch on athletics a little bit because I was on the track team at Colgate last year, and now I'm on the club running team. And athletics allows you to kind of find your friends and connect with people outside of class and continue to do something that you loved in high school. I know many colleges have different levels of athletics that you can participate in, so I've taken advantage of that. And it allows you to find a community and find like-minded people to do something that you love. So it's a win-win for everybody.
Something that I've been really involved in since freshman year was the Columbia Undergraduate Science Journal, which is just like a journal that's built to publish independent undergraduate research, because a lot of the time undergrads like aren't able to publish whatever paper they come up with on their own. And it's just like a really great community for me because the people in it are interested in the same things that I am. They're all into science and publishing and like want to go into that, but it's also really great for just like socializing and having fun. So I love clubs that kind of give you both sides.
It's really great to hear about some of the things that you've gotten involved with since you got on campus, since I know sometimes it's whether you're pushing yourself out of your comfort zone to try something new, or maybe you're kind of returning to something that you already knew that you loved from high school. But thinking about those first few weeks, that first year maybe, what was your transition like from high school into college? Greg, you want to start us off?
Yeah. So I actually found my transition was way easier than I thought, and I think that's probably the case for most people. Like, I was nervous. I'm sure everyone is, about going in, making friends, living with new people. But once you get there, you realize that like literally everyone, feels the same way, and everyone is really open to making friends and like building new connections. And you'll meet people that you click with. You might meet people that you don't click with, but that's okay. You're surrounded by thousands of other people who are your age, and some are like-minded, some aren't, but you'll find your people like in the mass of people around you. So I generally had a pretty easy transition, and then I had to transition again this past year, and I found it a pretty easy transition as well. So I think as long as you're able to step outside your comfort zone a little bit, anyone can make a good transition.
I think something that definitely helped with the transition is the fact that South Brunswick is so big. And a lot of my friends in college went to high schools where there were just like 100 people, 400 people. And like going to a high school that was already pretty much the size of a college just made it so much less intimidating, and you're completely used to that environment already. I think for me, the most intimidating thing was moving to New York from such like a suburban place. But I'm really happy that I chose to do that in the end. And something else that I think I recommend is if your college has any sort of pre-orientation programs, those are definitely worth doing, because you can go into the first week sort of already like having some familiar faces and people that you already know, which is always helpful.
Yeah, to add on to that, I was going to say CMU has like an orientation week. So it's kind of different because all the first years come a week before classes start, and it kind of almost feels like summer camp for a little bit, where there's different programs and activities and different orgs table, but you don't need to worry about classes at all. It's all about adjusting. So I think because I had that week buffer and everyone had that week buffer, it was a lot easier to transition because I just had to focus on settling in and meeting other people.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only thing I'd add is I think I think the transition stuff that we've covered is really helpful, and really important to keep in mind. I think the only thing I'd add is just to think about transition maybe more than just like the first month or the first even year. I think there's still areas that I'm transitioning to Princeton or transitioning to college about. And I think the big thing I want to emphasize is I think we always naturally talk about like finding your people, which is true, and I'm so lucky to have found people. But I think also being okay with the moments when you are upset or are down. I think the big thing that I learned through that transition process is to just be comfortable when there is a lot of uncertainty, which, especially now, more than ever there is uncertainty. But when that comes to friends or grades, just being willing to fail and try again. And I think it's not this like movie magical situation where like you find, I mean, maybe, and I hope that you do, but it's not always as simple as like you find your three best friends the first week of school, and that's totally okay. So I think just viewing that process as more of a gradual thing than something that has to happen by the first month or the first week or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that idea of gradual transition is really important to keep in mind, especially as people go through the 4 years or even if they're at school for longer, to keep that in mind. And kind of thinking about that in terms of things that you've been able to take advantage of on your campus or get involved with, what are some of the resources or opportunities that have helped you to find your place on campus, whether that was in the first couple weeks or even in your junior, upcoming senior year? What are some of those things that have helped you to take advantage of what your universities offer?
So I can go first on this one.
Go for it.
So as a transfer student, Penn has a transfer student organization, which is like a way bigger part of campus at Penn than it is at many other schools. So I was able to meet my fellow transfers, have a individual orientation process, and use that to connect to the rest of the community around me, which was really important for finding my place like in a new school as a sophomore. And I think a lot of other colleges have something similar. So I guess that's something to keep in mind, that even if the school you go to your freshman year isn't a fit, that there's going to be resources in place if you want to change, move schools, that will help you to feel connected to the community around you, even if you end up deciding to make a change.
Yeah, I mean, I think on kind of continuing what I was saying before, I think there's a lot of resources, especially when you're having trouble. I think, I mean, not that you can only go to resources when you're having trouble, but I think in those moments when you're down and a little upset, I think there's a lot of places to go. I think most schools now have the equivalent of what we call at Princeton CPS, which is counseling and psychological services. So it's like free there. And I think, especially as we, as a society, I guess, accept mental health and learn more about it, I think it's slowly becoming more of an open thing. So that's been something that I've taken advantage of. I think the really cool thing about colleges that's a little different from high school is that there's so many layers of structure in place to support you. So you have your professors, but then you also have your deans, and you have your residential advisors, and there's so many systems in place to support you. So I think the challenge with college that I found is reaching out first, because a lot of times there's just so many people that you have to kind of seek out those resources. But like I said, I think all those resources. So I've really tapped into my dean and director of studies, and so they've helped me guide through even things that aren't related to academics. And then there's also like kind of external organizations. So there's the Office of Religious Life that I've taken advantage of at Princeton, and I'm sure there's similar things that a lot of colleges. So.
For me, I think the thing that I struggled the most with in terms of getting settled was feeling homesick, because my family speaks Portuguese at home. We have Brazilian food every day at home, and then suddenly, like, I have to have this dining hall food, and no one speaks Portuguese around me. So at first, like, it was a really big adjustment to like have to leave that behind at home. But then I joined the Brazilian Society at Columbia, like Society of Brazilian Students, which was really helpful to me in terms of like not only like connecting with my culture, but like making friends who could relate to me. So it's been a really good support system. And even if there's no like, I don't know, ethnic group on campus that like you can connect with, it's like making a friend group like that that can relate to you about a certain thing, I think is a really good way of building a support system on campus.
I would say in my experience, probably, I don't know, this, I feel like a lot of, when you go on college tours, they always say this, but like going to office hours is really helpful. And so every single semester, I've had to go to at least one office hours for a class that I'm taking. And usually the professors and TAs are always really responsive, and they're really receptive to scheduling like extra time if you need it, or one-on-one time. So again, it's like, don't be afraid to ask for help. And sometimes it can even be good. You can bond with other people that also need help.
I think everything you just said leads really well into our final question that I'm actually really excited to hear your answers for. And that's, what advice would you give to students getting ready to enter the world of college, or what advice do you wish you had gotten before you entered college?
I would say, like, always be trying to step outside your comfort zone, because when I first started college, I became really good friends with my roommate right away, and like kind of settled into this routine of just like going to class and then like hanging out with my roommate in my room, and like that was my life. And throughout freshman year, I kind of wish that, like, I think a lot of campuses have this like bubble kind of thing going on where like you just kind of stay in the area of your buildings that you go to class with. So I think that making sure that you get outside that bubble and meet other people than just like the initial two friends that you made during orientation, just because like you're comfortable with that now doesn't mean that you can't take advantage of everything else that there is.
So the
I
advice
think my
I would give,
go for it.
the advice I would give is to just go into everything with an open mind, and try not to have too much figured out before you get there. Because once you're at school, you're gonna be new people, you're gonna have new experiences, and you're gonna be exposed to a lot of new things. So you'll figure out like what your path is as you do it, and you're gonna meet a lot of people, and you might change schools, you might do a bunch of new and exciting things. So it's better to go in with an open mind and be open to those new opportunities rather than to go in with a closed mind and be set on what you thought your path was.
Yeah, I think my advice is, I guess, twofold, but I think the first part is that I think South Brunswick High School does a great job of preparing you for college, wherever you go. So I think, compared to a lot of my peers at Princeton, like I came in with a lot of background on a ton of different topics, and that's not because, of me, that's because of the classes that we took at South Brunswick, and we had a great time doing it. So I think number one, be really confident about it. You're prepared, you have the background to do really well in college. But then I guess on the flip side, to not put yourself too down when you do inevitably fail. Not to say that you're going to fail a class or something like that. By fail, I just mean like you're going to learn things along the way that and struggle at different moments and in a lot of different areas. And so just kind of coming to terms with that. I think one thing that happens in high school is that college is kind of the end goal. Like, you do everything to apply to college and you get in. But the reality is that, we're in our teens, we're in our 20s now, and there's so much ahead of us. And so I think to view college as just another stepping stone and another moment to grow and learn. So I think I've learned, sometimes kind of painfully, to have more of a growth mindset. And I think if someone had told me that, I would have appreciated that.
So I have two things. One is like to, again, try new things and explore, but also don't feel like you have to say yes to everything. I think in the beginning, it's easier to just put everything on your plate. And then as you go through college, it's more important to kind of filter through and see what things are actually important to you and not just for like your resume or for other reasons. And then my second thing is to not feel like you can't like stay in touch with your high school friends or the people that you've become close with in high school. Because I feel like sometimes people think that they go to college and then high school is over. It's like in the past, it's done with. But I feel like in college, I've actually learned how to be a better friend because I've learned how to maintain long distance friendships with people from home. And you kind of learn what it means to actually put into a friendship or any relationship.
That is such awesome advice. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. I really can't thank you enough for sharing your experiences with current SBHS students. And thank you, students, for also tuning in. Again, if there's any question that wasn't answered and that you'd like to be addressed, please see the link at the bottom of our SBHS Alumni College Panel discussion page, where you can also find more links to different panel discussions regarding different topics and different types of schools. We wish you all the best in your college search, and we hope you stay safe, Vikings. Thanks, guys.